Hi guys, Binny here with Beauty by Binny. Today I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful and very easy makeup look for the traditional Indian or Pakistani bride. This makeup is also great for a night out, minus all the jewelry of course, and you can also tone it down with a neutral lip color. I had so much fun getting all dolled up for this tutorial, and this is definitely one of my favorite makeup looks. Alright girls, so let's go ahead and get started. After moisturizing my skin, I applied MERCIER foundation primer all over my face and neck, and then I applied some under eye cream for added moisture. I'm using MAC's full coverage foundation in NC35, and since this is a cream base, I just use my fingers to apply the foundation to my face and neck. Next, I'm using Urban Decay's Primer Potion, and I'm applying this to the top and bottom lids, and then just using my fingers to blend it out. This step is definitely a must, especially if you want your eye makeup to last all night. I used a spoolie to brush out any foundation from my brows, then I'm using MAC's brow pencil in Spiked, and I'm tracing a straight line on the bottom of my brow from the inner corner all the way to the outer corner. Then I filled in the gaps in my brows using short strokes and following the direction that the hair grows because that will give my brows a very natural look. Filling in the brows is extremely important to this type of makeup look, especially if you're going to be taking pictures because camera flash tends to fade out the brows. After that, I used a spoolie again to brush out the brows and soften them up a bit. And just look at how big of a difference there is once you've filled in your brows. After that, I used this brown and gray brow duo by Merle Norman to set the cream brow pencil in place. And that's pretty much the rule of makeup. Anything that you apply that is liquid or cream needs to be set with a powder if you want it to last longer. Next, I used MAC's Studio Fix Concealer in NW20 and a synthetic concealer brush by Real Techniques. I'm tracing an outline around the entire brow to highlight it and to give it more dimension. And then I'm going to use the same concealer brush and blend it all out. This beautiful soft gold shadow is by TRISH MCAVOY and the color is called 18K. I'm using a small shadow brush and applying this color under my brows as a highlight. I don't want the highlight to be very harsh, that's why it's better to go with a dull gold rather than a bright shiny yellow gold. After that, I'm using this gorgeous Urban Decay shadow called Maui Wowie. I applied Fix Plus by MAC to my brush and then will apply the shadow only to the inner 3/4 of my eyes. Press on the eyeshadow rather than sweeping it on so you get less fallout. And also, if you don't have a mixing medium like Fix Plus, just use water, it works just as well. Make sure you also get the inner corners of your eyes and leave the outer corners. I actually found it a lot easier to add some Fix Plus onto my fingers and then dip that into the shadow. For some reason I think you get a more concentrated look using your fingers instead of a brush. So now you should have something that looks like this, and you can see that I left the outer corners of my eyes alone. I'm going to be adding this color called Smog by Urban Decay. It's a very coppery brown color, and I'm adding that with a small eyeshadow brush to the outer V of my eyes. Once again, I'm pressing on the shadow rather than sweeping it on. Using the same eyeshadow brush, I'm going to blend out this brown eyeshadow slightly into my crease. This light brown eyeshadow is called Buck and it's from the Urban Decay Naked palette, and this is a MAC 217 brush. I'm applying this shadow directly into my crease to blend out any harsh lines. After that, for an even more blended look, I'm using MAC's 224 Tapered Blending Brush to soften the crease. I'm using a black eyeshadow from the Urban Decay Naked palette called Creep and a small angled liner brush by e.l.f. to create a crease into my lid. If you have deep set eyes already, then you can skip this step. But if your eyes are like mine and you don't have a very prominent crease, or if you have monolid eyes, then adding a crease will give your eyes some depth and dimension. If you're new to this, the easiest way to cut a crease is to look straight into a mirror and push the brush into your crease, and then keep adding more eyeshadow until you reach the desired amount. After that, I used a MACK 219 pencil brush to blend out the cut crease that I just made. This step is crucial because you don't want your eyes to look like you just drew a black line across the lid and left it there. Then I blended out the crease a bit more using the same tapered blending brush that I used earlier. I went back in and added some more of the dull gold shadow right under my brow, and then after that I added some Fix Plus to an angled brush and then used the Maui Wowie shadow to trace a thin line under the arch of the brow. This will give an added highlight without looking too harsh, and it will catch light and look beautiful in photos. So now I'm going to add some black eye pencil to the lower waterline and also into the tear duct. The one I'm using is STILA KAJAL pencil in ONYX. This is a felt tip liquid eyeliner by L'Oreal in carbon black. Trace a thin line starting from the inner corner of your eyes all the way to the outer corner, and then extend the outer corner into a tip like a cat eye. Then I added some Fix Plus to a small brush and am using the Maui Wowie shadow to trace a line on the inner half of my lower lid. After that, I'm using Smog on the same brush and I'm applying that to the outer half of my lower lid. Next, I use the same liquid liner to line my lower lid, and I joined the top and bottom corners of the liner, bringing them into a point. I basically kept darkening the liquid liner till it went from this to this. I traced a thin line using the Maui Wowie shadow under the lower liner all the way from the inner point to the outer tip. Next, I applied a double set of red cherry lashes in number 107, my favorite, and I used Duo Clear Lash Adhesive. Once the glue dries, don't forget to go over any visible glue with your liquid liner and add mascara to your top and bottom lashes. Next, I'm moving on to concealer. I'm using the same concealer that I used on my brows to brighten up my under eyes. This is my favorite part, but it does take a long time, so I fast forwarded through this step. Also, I like to apply the concealer to the outer part of my brows, down my nose, and on the center of my forehead. This concealer is the same consistency as my foundation, so I prefer to use my fingers to blend. However, if this was a client that I was applying makeup on, I would definitely use a foundation brush or a beauty blender sponge instead. Now that my concealer is done, I'm using a clean fluffy brush to set my concealer in place with some translucent powder. I'm going to apply the translucent powder on all the areas where I applied the concealer, but don't overdo this step, otherwise your concealer can end up looking really cakey. To set the rest of my skin, I'm using a darker face powder. This one is a MACK Mineralized Skin Finish in medium dark. I'm using a Real Techniques buffing brush to apply the powder, and just make sure you avoid the areas where you use the lighter concealer. I'm using a dark blush by MAC called Blunt to contour my face. First, I like to contour directly into the hollows of my cheeks. Then I contoured my forehead, making sure to push the brush into the hairline. The contour powder should look like it's coming out from your hairline and flawlessly onto your forehead. There shouldn't be a gap between your forehead and your hairline. Then from your forehead, it should go down your temples and back into the hollows of your cheeks. Deepen a thin line right into the hollow of your cheeks to make them look more sunken in, which will give you the illusion of having higher cheekbones. I also contoured under my jawline, which will give your face a more structured look, especially in pictures, and don't forget to contour the sides of your nose. I'm going to use a highlighter by MAC. It's a mineralized skin finish in the color by Candlelight, and the brush I'm using is a blush brush by e.l.f. Cosmetics. Apply the highlighter above your cheekbones and to the outer part of your brow, then take some down your nose to give it a slimmer effect, and also add some to your cupid's bow to make your lips look fuller. I want to add a bit of gold to the highlight, so I'm using that same dull gold color I used earlier, and I'm going over all the highlighted areas. Now that we're done with our contouring and highlighting, it's time to move on to our lips. I'm using a lip liner by NYX Cosmetics, and the color is Hot Red. I have full lips, so I keep my lip liner right on my lip line. But if you have thin lips, I would recommend applying the liner slightly outside your natural lip line. Most Indian or Pakistani brides prefer a red lip for a traditional wedding, but if red is just not your color, then try a nude or a bronzy lip instead. Next, I'm using a Wet n Wild lipstick in the color 509A to fill in my lips. Then I used a dark burgundy lip gloss by NYX in the color Garnet. I'm using a darker gloss to tone down the orangey undertone of the lipstick. I want my lips to be a perfect combination between an orange red and a blue red, and this seems to do the trick. After that, I'm using a coppery gold lip gloss by NYX to highlight the center of my lips. The color that I'm using is called Oro. Okay, next I'm using a fan brush to go over any of the highlighting and contouring that I did earlier. This is just going to soften the look a little bit. Now I'm going to go over the contouring with some bronzer. This is Suntan Matte by SMASHBOX, and the brush I'm using is a blush brush by Real Techniques. I'm just going over the hollows of my cheeks, over my forehead, my temples, and a little dab on my nose and chin. This blush is Gingerly by MACK, and it's one of my favorite blushes. Apply some to your brush and then dab off on the back of your hand, and then apply the blush with a light hand above the contour line that you drew earlier in the hollows of your cheeks. This will prevent the blush from looking like one streaky line, which is not a good look. Then I applied another one of my favorite MAC blushes. This one is called Warm Soul. And finally, blot your lips off on a tissue so you don't have red lipstick on your teeth all night. And we're done with the makeup. The bridal look is complete once you add the right jewelry and veil. I'm so happy with how this makeup look turned out, and I really enjoyed making this tutorial for you guys. Please let me know if you have any questions, and if you recreate this look, let me know how it turns out. Please subscribe to my channel, and once again, thank you for watching Beauty by Binny. Take care. Mwah.